Hey everybody, welcome back to FSi DFS. I'm McKinley412. We're having a wonderful day. We got the rankings here, and honestly, you can move them and shake them out a lot of different ways. When you get fresh out of the All-Star break, you get all these like top pitchers all going at once. Just like the start of the season. It's not like that random slate in June where you'll have the most elite pitcher. Like it's not like you have Paul Skeens going up against just a handful of like bottom rotation guys. This is top of the rotation guys yesterday, second today. So it's going to really lower ownership and spread ownership out throughout the board. So there's not like one guy that I'm like, you must absolutely have this guy. It's just not happening on a slate like this. Just because, regardless of who you pick, you're probably going to be a little bit over ownership on a lot of these guys. Just because you're playing them and it's going to be so spread out. So into this top tier, we'll start off with this top tier. Kirby is going to be my favorite guy facing off against Houston. Houston, the offense just has not been what it has been in years past. And a lot of these top guys, Kirby, Cease, on the board here, they all have very similar strikeout props. They're all at 5.5 except for Peralta. Peralta's at 6.5. Not really much of a difference there, especially given Peralta's inconsistencies. Like he's a guy who can have that boom game, that bust game, and he's got a tough matchup facing off against Minnesota, who does very well against right-handed pitching. But Kirby, he just goes out there, he gets the job done. His strikeout rate is not as high as I would hope it to be, but he's also the cheapest guy in this higher salary tier, so he's gonna get the most interest from me at 9K, followed by Peralta, just because Peralta has a higher ceiling and he's got that higher strikeout, prop with Vegas. After that, I'm going to go with Rodriguez, Gallen, and Cease. Not a whole lot of interest in Cease just because the tough matchup against Cleveland. Cleveland doesn't strike out a lot as a team. I mean, they got Quan at an 8% strikeout rate leading off. So not a whole lot of interest in Cease. You could lump him into that Peralta category where he's got the upside, but do I expect to see that upside here? No, not really. Gallen, he really struggled in his final 3 starts leading into the All-Star break. So until we can get he's back, I'm going to be a little bit less on him. Now he's got a nice matchup against the Cubs and a floundering offense, but still, it's something that I want to see it again before I trust it. And I mean, obviously in GPP, he's certainly going to be in play because we know what he is capable of. But personally, I think with so many options on the board, I'm going to have a little bit less interest in Gallen. Sonny Gray, the St. Louis-Atlanta game, this is going to be the second of the doubleheader. So Gray, not a whole lot of interest, honestly. And pay attention to the weather in this game. It looks like there could be a few rain showers as we lead up into first pitch here. But yeah, just pay attention to that. I'm not a meteorologist. I don't want to talk too much about what I expect the weather to do. So going into this mid-tier, and again, it's a pretty solid mid-tier. I mean, we're talking about Scherzer and Lopez and Valdez against a high strikeout Seattle team, and Singer against the woeful White Sox. Sorry, Matt Manoa, if you're watching. But it's still just a lot of solid options. You can swing it around in a lot of different ways. But Singer, he's going to be my top option, followed by Valdez, and then followed by Gray, and then Lopez and Scherzer. But like Scherzer as like my 5th favorite mid-tier option, it just still feels crazy. I could totally understand if you want to move him up in your rankings. This is kind of where I was saying, like, ownership's going to be muddied. It's going to, I'm not sure exactly where it's going to go, but I do know it's going to be extremely spread out. So let's talk about a little bit. Singer facing off against the White Sox. I really don't think there should be much explanation. Like, he's going to be my favorite pitcher. Like, anybody facing off against the White Sox, I'm going to have a whole lot of interest in. Valdez facing off against Seattle. Seattle, highest strikeout rate in the league. However, they have the highest strikeout rate in the league against righties. They don't strike out as much against lefties, but they still strike out a heap ton. So, going to have some interest in Valdez just because of the strikeout upside that can come with it. Lopez, okay, I already talked about Gray. Lopez, he was one of those guys that we talked about is like that boom or bust kind of guy. He can be having that absolutely dominant game, or he can go out there and let up 5, 6, 7 earned runs. I mean, we see it easily just in this 5-game sample size. 48, 30, 5, 2 or 0.2, 18, -3, 25, 5. Like, he is so up and down the board. 33, 8. Like, it just keeps on going. He's either on or he's really off. And this is why Milwaukee as a bats option is going to be really intriguing for me. Implied run totals, Milwaukee is actually really low on the board. Vegas does not expect a whole lot from them. But when you look at what happens when Lopez is off, really ramp up the opposing bats. So I think that Milwaukee's going to be a really intriguing GPP play from there. Going into the cheap tier, I think that Webb is probably going to be the most popular guy on the board. I know he's in Coors Field, and there is going to be a little bit of a rain threat, but still, it's Colorado, and Logan Webb, just like take Coors Field out of it, this is a pitcher that we should be paying $9K and have been paying $9K for the entire season. But right now, he's got a massive price reduction at $7.6K, facing off against a bad Colorado team and a bad Colorado offense. So I think that he's probably going to be the one pitcher that I can say is going to see quite a bit of ownership. But again, it's Coors Field. Do we trust it? No, but at the same time, reducing his price, $1,500 to $2,000 is just way too much. He's probably going to be the most popular. Bayo for Boston, he's got a tough Dodgers tilt here, but when you look at the Dodgers, you got Ohtani, you got Freeman, you got Will Smith, and then what? Like, you can put Teoscar Hernandez in there. I mean, all-star, home run derby guy in there. But at the same time, he sports almost a 30% strikeout rate. So that's a little bit of a hesitation with him. But then after those four guys, who do they got? Betts is injured. Muncy's been injured forever. Pages, Rojas, Vargas, Lux, like, none of these guys should be really terrifying you as an opposing starting pitcher. So I guess the name recognition is a little bit more scary and when you're taking a pitcher against the Dodgers. And I will admittedly say the Dodgers have, I think, the second or third highest implied run total on the board. So there's a little bit of hesitation with that. So maybe there's even like a gap. So we'll put gap there, and then we can go with like Wroblewski, and then Williams, and then Bayo in terms of pitchers. And then no interest after that. So you can quickly see in terms of like high salary mids, I think all 10 of these guys are certainly in play, and even Webb. So 11 pitchers that I think are justifiably in play on the board here tonight. Looking towards the bats, KC is going to be the top bats, followed by San Francisco in Coors. Kansas City, I highlighted Frazier here. He could be leading off. Nice lefty-righty matchup going up against Cannon. KC, I expect to be the most popular on the board because they're not even really that super expensive. Yeah, you got Bobby Witt at 6.3K, but when you're putting in Frazier at 2.9, it all balances out. And then you got the rest of the board here is like Massey's another lefty that you're going to have interest in, Pasquantino. But yeah, Bobby Witt, I don't care about the righty versus righty. He's going to be certainly in play. Home run derby did not impact his bat at all. First at bat, yesterday, home run. Loved it. So if you go, with KC and then you throw in Webb, you can go with whoever you want really up here. We'll go with Kirby. I mean, you're still looking at 4K remaining for the rest of your bats. Like, salary is not going to be really much of an issue at all when you're looking at this. And so San Francisco is certainly going to be at the top of the board as well, facing off against Freeland. Freeland, big curveball pitcher, but it's in Coors, and curveballs in Coors, they just hang a little bit more. They just don't get nearly as much break as they normally would, at sea level. So always a knock against Freeland when he is pitching at home. So guys like Soler and Chapman, Ramos, Estrada, like all these guys in play. San Francisco, and salary, they're not super expensive. I think they're very comparable to Kansas City, to be completely honest. So maybe Kansas City gets a little bit more of a GPP nod. Like, if you see all the ownerships going to San Francisco, just pivot to Kansas City. Very similar in terms of price tags, and very similar, I think, in terms of upside. I just think that Kansas City is just in that good of a matchup. In terms of GPP, we're going to go with Boston, facing off against Wroblewski. He just allows a lot of hard contact, a lot of home runs, and you're chasing home run upside when you're going to be playing GPP. So I really do like that option. And then Milwaukee, I already talked about them facing off against Lopez with his big when he's off, he's really off. Going into the cheap tier, St. Louis, they're going to be my favorite, especially the lefties. They're facing off against Bryce Elder in this second game. Let me pull up the ESPN Bryce Elder splits, and you can see against left-handed bats, 364 average, almost 1 OPS, 1,000 OPS. It's just insane what lefties are able to do to this guy. And St. Louis, they got a lot of them. So guys like Burleson, Donovan, Newbar, Gorman, they're all sub 4K. Like, so affordable, so cheap. Just pay attention to the weather if you do go towards that route. So hopefully this was able to kind of like steer you in the right direction. I know like it's just a lot of muddiness in terms of pitching just because there's so many options that we can go to. I like a lot of it. So thanks for watching as always. Hopefully you guys enjoy these. No videos on Sundays, but we will be back on Monday. Mega Roar is going to be taking Monday and Tuesday because I'm going to be off, but I'll be back on Wednesday. So good luck in your contest. Thanks for watching as always, and we'll see you in the next one.